What's up, guys? This is TheKephas. Welcome to World of Warcraft and the latest version of my user interface for both Classic and Retail, using primarily ConsolePort and ElvUI. Now, I've made videos like this in the past where I've shown different versions of my UI, and I really appreciate how much you guys seem to like these kinds of videos and me sharing my UI, so I thought I would do that again with this updated version. So this is kind of like Adventure Mode version 2. I like to call this UI my Adventure Mode UI because I try to go for something a little bit more modern, something like maybe from The Witcher or Dark Souls or something like that, because I have a mod called Dynamic Cam, which is what offsets my camera to the side here, and I'm on my Volpera Hunter so that I can show almost everything about this UI. Now, if you don't need a long-winded explanation about everything and showing it off, then just check the description. You'll find profile links for ElvUI and ConsolePort. There will be separate ones for Retail and Classic. You can find all that stuff in the description below. There will be a lot of links to different videos that I've done in the past in the description below, so you can go ahead and do that. And don't forget, if you want to help me out, you can continue watching. You can like and share this video and all that good stuff. But I really do appreciate how much you guys like these, and I thought it would be fun to do this again. So this is, again, like I said, version 2.0. Let's start off with ConsolePort, and I'm going to try to remember as much as I can and show this off the best I can. It's not scripted. I'm just kind of winging it. So the main thing that you'll see on the screen that involves ConsolePort is the action bar. Now, if you don't know, what ConsolePort does is it allows you to play World of Warcraft with a controller. It comes with some software that you can use that maps your controller to different keyboard buttons, and then you put that into the game. It's pretty cool. You can learn more about it if you check out the mods page on CurseForge or on the Twitch app. Most of these mods you'll find on the Twitch app, with the exception of the ElvUI stuff. You'll have to go to like the ElvUI website, which is like TheKephas. I'll have a link to both of those in the description below. But anyway, so ConsolePort's a really cool mod. I'll have a video explaining it more in depth if you want to learn more about that mod specifically. But I'm going to just focus on what the UI is like with the mod in this. So the things that you'll see on the screen are the action bar, which is down here at the bottom. It's a list of the 8 buttons. Of course, you've got A, B, X, and Y, and then the D-pad over here. You can hold down your modifiers to get even more buttons. So left trigger, right trigger, both triggers, all add in more buttons. And then over here on the right, you'll see the pet action bar, which you don't really need to use as much, but it's nice to have it there, and I kind of like the style of it over there on the side. So that's basically everything with ConsolePort. Now, I will have a link in the description, again, to the ConsolePort setup that I have here, if I can remember. Oh, wait, no, ConsolePort is just, you hit start, and then you go to ConsolePort. There we go. So this is my button mapping. Now, you can use this. It will map all the buttons for you the way I have them set up. Now, I do use some add-ons that are mapped to different buttons as well, so you might have to come in here and map certain actions yourself. I have some things like the character panel. You can kind of take a quick look here and see what all the buttons do. You can also switch over to this view, and you can just kind of scroll down and see what all the buttons do. You can see what they're mapped to. You can set different actions. It's pretty cool. It's a little bit overwhelming at first, but if you just take the time, be patient, and look through it, you can easily map out the buttons yourself, because what works for me may not exactly work for you. Now, to import my profile, you just obviously go down here to click import. You click on this button here, and then you copy my URL, which will be in the description. There will be a link to a paste bin. You just copy what's in the paste bin, paste it here, and then you're good to go. Now, that's how you import that profile. So the other main thing is the action bar setup that I have. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like you can import or export and share your action bar. Just the way the mod works, it's kind of strange. It's a little weird, and you have to like copy this on every character. Like, once you have it saved on one character, you can click on it with all of your alts, but it's a little bit weird. I wish they would redo this profile system because it's kind of janky. I wish they would just use the more default one that most add-ons use. Maybe there's a reason why they can't, or maybe they just like doing their own thing. I don't know, but it's not the most user-friendly. But if you want to have action bars like mine that go well with this ElvUI profile, which we'll get into here in a second, then you can take a look at all these options here, and then I'll scroll down, and then you can see all the values. Now this is where you position and size the buttons for the action bar. So you can kind of see that here. You can set the X and Y coordinates on the screen, and you can kind of try to do this, and it should put them in the same spot. Now, one thing to mention with all of this, it may be a little bit different for you because you might have a different screen resolution. There could be something else that's going on. You might have different add-ons, but just try your best, and if nothing else, maybe this video gives you some ideas that you can do yourself. But unfortunately, I don't know how to share this other than you just looking at it here. Let me get that out of the way. You can pause it. You can copy all these in your game, and then you can be good to go. And of course, the pet bar, if you want to use that, you can obviously hide it if you don't like it, and then you just show it, and you can move it around by clicking on the mouse, and then you can lock it in place. That's pretty easy. And that's pretty much everything about ConsolePort. Really good mod. We will go into Classic after we're done with Retail, and there will be some differences, which I will show you, but we'll get into that later. Now, the other main add-on that you're going to need is ElvUI, and like I said, you'll have to get this off of the ElvUI website and all of the plugins that I use. So before we get into anything, let's go ahead and go to our add-on section, and let's scroll down to ElvUI, if I find it here. There we go. So there are a few plugins that I have for ElvUI that you'll want to get. The first one is Project Azriloka. Sorry, trying to get that right. That's one that's really useful. Add-on skins is useful if you want to incorporate your DPS meter and also change the basic skins of the different panels into looking more matched with ElvUI. That's a useful add-on to have. Location Plus is great if you like this bar up here. And then Binnick UI is very much important. You must download this one to work with the profile that I have. And then there's also ElvUI Shadow and Light. You don't have to have this one, but it is nice. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it. This does not work with Classic though, so you won't need this one with Classic, but you should consider downloading the rest of them because there's some cool stuff that they do. We will get into all of that, but there's a list of different plugins that you can get. You can get all of these off of the TheKephas ElvUI website. You can actually get some of them from CurseForge as well. So keep that in mind. Now, let's get into what you see on the screen, obviously. So on the bottom left, right above the ConsolePort action bar is your health bar. Now, I kind of took some inspiration off of a really cool add-on called Azurite UI. It's a really awesome looking stylized UI overhaul, kind of like ElvUI, but it's more stylized. The mod is great. I wanted to try it out, but the thing is, it's very rigid and very much self-contained, meaning it doesn't really play nice with other add-ons too well. There isn't a lot of room to customize. The people writing that mod have done a really good job at making an amazing looking UI, but they're very much like, this is how we want it to be, and we just kind of want to focus on what we're trying to make. And I appreciate that. I really do, and I'm not faulting them for that. But I'll have some screenshots so you can see what it looks like too. But, you know, if you want to do anything custom, if you want to use ConsolePort, it doesn't really play nice with stuff like that. So that's why I haven't really used it, but I took some inspiration from it, and that's why I've got my health panel down here. Obviously, you can see the big bar is your health, and then right below that is your power, so your mana, your focus, your whatever you're using, your energy. And then if you're a hunter, the little bar above that is your pet's health. So it's all nice and contained right there, right down the bottom. I like the size of it. It's not too intrusive, it's not too in the way, but it's easy to kind of glance down and see it if you need to, and it just looks nice and stylized with the action bar down there as well. I like that. And then of course you've got your buffs right here. Right above that, there's like 2 rows of 8. So if you feel like you need more, you can extend that into ElvUI. You also find if you have any debuffs, they'll be right next to your unit frame, so that's all right there as well. Now, you don't see a target frame, so let's go ahead and target something. We'll just target Johnny the Cobra, which is a Cobra Kai reference if you didn't get it. And so this is where the new target frame is. It's a nice long skinny bar. Kind of took some inspiration from Final Fantasy XIV. I like the way they did target bars. I like having it right in the middle of the screen. It's not too big though. It's easy to see, but it doesn't clutter up the screen. It kind of tucks right under that location plus bar real nice. nicely. And yeah, you can see the total amount of health. Usually it's a percentage if you're fighting a target. If it's not an ally, you can see their name, their target health, and then of course their level is on this side. Yeah, and so it's pretty cool. Now, if you if the enemy is casting something, we'll target myself for this, and I'll go ahead and just use my Hearthstone. So if I, maybe I'll use my Hearthstone, maybe not. Let me see. Where's my Hearthstone? Oh wait, I remember now. I forget where my buttons are. Okay, so there we go. So now I'm using my Hearthstone. If the enemy is targeting and using a cast, then you'll see this nice long bar up here as well. So that's easy to see. It gives you plenty of time to react, and it's all right there in a nice place. Obviously, you'll have nameplates as well, which do a lot of the same stuff, but that's where you can look at the main target bar. Now, if you want the Golden Eagles, that's where you're going to need that project. I can't ever get the name right, Azriloka or whatever it is. So if you open up ElvUI here, we'll get into some of these options as well. But if you go down, this is where all the plugins are. They kind of did a little bit of reorganizing. It's kind of nice. So this add-on specifically does a number of different things you can try out. The only thing is you can copy my profile, import it into your game. You're going to get this layout just fine, but you might have to come in and customize all of the stuff from this plugin. But one of the things it does is it adds the dragon overlays, so like the elite and the rare dragons that you can put over the nameplate. But you might have to go in and kind of customize that for yourself and where it goes on the nameplate. So you can kind of come in here, you can change like what the icons actually look like, which is kind of cool. There's a bunch of options here, and then you can move the X and Y coordinates, you can adjust the size. So unfortunately, I don't have anything around here that I can click on that is an elite that kind of shows off what they look like. I don't see anybody, but maybe let's see if the sometimes the flight path people are. Yep, so there you go. Cool, that worked out. So I've got it set up. I've got the size adjusted. This is what it looks like for me. When you import ElvUI, it might be on the middle of your screen if you have this add-on selected, if you've downloaded that plugin. So you might have to adjust that. That's the only real thing that you're going to have to adjust, though, is anything from that add-on. But it's worth checking out. It does some pretty cool stuff. The reason why you'll need Binnick UI primarily is for this portrait down here. If you like your character portrait, then you'll need Binnick UI to have that separate portrait there. So keep that in mind as well. Location plus is this bar up here. It shows your location, your coordinates. I've got your money. You can see all your characters' money on your server. It even separates it from Alliance to Horde. And then on this side, you've got your time. So that's kind of cool as well. So that's what that is. If you have a party or a raid, that's all going to be up here on the top left. And then you may wonder where your minimap is. Well, normally, if you're just using the ElvUI minimap, that will be up here on the top right corner where all minimaps go. It's a square minimap. Looks pretty nice, but I am visually impaired. I've mentioned this in all of these videos, and I use a different minimap. I use Sexy Map, and I can toggle it on and off with a button from ConsolePort, which allows me to toggle my minimap, and I kind of put it right in the middle of the screen, really big. I know it's kind of clunky, but I don't feel like I need to see it all the time. I only open it whenever I'm farming, I'm looking for farming nodes, or I'm looking for a quest objective. That's pretty much the only time I ever use my minimap, and so kind of like, again, how I do in Final Fantasy XIV with that game's map, I do it here as well. I just kind of show it, look where I need to go, and get rid of it when I don't need it. So that's kind of the idea, and it works out pretty well. Like I said, I just having it up in the top right corner, after all these years, I've learned that it's pretty much useless for me. But if you don't have to do that. You can just use the ElvUI minimap, and it will be right up there like any other add-on would be. So keep that in mind. Now, other things that are missing are your chat panel. So in ConsolePort, I have a couple of buttons linked to the two chat panels that come with ElvUI. One button will open the left chat panel, and this is where your chat box is now. So this is where you type in chat and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of up in the middle, kind of like how a lot of games do this now, where they put the chat, instead of putting it like down in the bottom left, they kind of put it in the middle, kind of like Overwatch, and there are other games I've played where they do this, and I kind of like it. It's easier for me to see the chat when it's up here, and since I can hide it, and it's not super intrusive, it's over to the side, I can easily see chat, and I can toggle it on and off, and when I don't feel like talking, I'm feeling antisocial, then that's kind of the idea. And then so the right panel is where add-on skins comes in. I use details damage meter to go through add-on skins, which puts it right into the right chat panel, and so I have another button that toggles that on and off in the same area on the other side. It's kind of like overlapping with the quest objective screen here, but that's fine because usually whenever you need to see your damage, you don't really need to see your quest objectives, so you can easily just, like if you have a ton of quests, you can easily just minimize that like that temporarily, and then open this, see your DPS, and do your thing, and then when you want to see your quest objectives again, you can hide that DPS meter, and you can open that back up. So that's pretty much all the cool things that this UI does. There really isn't anything else to go over. Obviously, if you're casting something, you look down in the bottom middle, you can see that there as well. So there's your cast bar, and I'm trying to think of anything else, but that's pretty much everything that we can go over. Let's go ahead and go into ElvUI's options, and somewhere on here is where I've got it. I just have to remember where. Oh wait, that's right. It's on. Okay, so I play WoW Classic and WoW Retail, and I get confused where my buttons are. So, like I said, for this you'll need Location Plus. The plugin if you want this bar. If you don't want it, then you don't have to download Location Plus. Simple as that. Binnick UI is the one mandatory one, and then obviously I highly recommend getting add-on skins. Shadow and Light, the only thing I use that for is it allows me to have this updated, cool-looking character screen. I really like this a lot. I like the way it looks. It's just nice and stylized. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it. The add-on does a lot of other cool things as well. I should say the plugin. And then, of course, Project Azure Loca. I think I got that right. I don't know. There's a lot of cool different things that it can do. You don't have to have it, but there are just some cool options in here you can go through. You can have like quest sounds, so when you complete an objective, it says the work complete, you know, the lazy peon thing, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so let's go up here. Now, a lot of times people get confused where to find things, so just go through all these different panels, and you can like turn different things on and off as you see fit. So like, for example, I'm using ConsolePort. I've got most of the action bars here turned off, except for bar 1, because so the one thing about ConsolePort that I don't know why, but whenever you're in a vehicle, I can't seem to be able to see my vehicle bar. It doesn't switch it down there in that action bar. From what I understand, I just haven't been able to figure it out. So I have bar 1 shown, but it's hidden via mouse over. That way, whenever you're in a vehicle and you need to see what the vehicle buttons do, you can just kind of mouse over and see them, and the face buttons will still control them, just like they would, you know, using the action bar, but it just doesn't show those buttons. I don't know why. It's weird. But the rest of the buttons, bars 2 and on, are hidden because I don't need them. And then, of course, like you can show and hide those. You can add bars in if you want. You can, if you're not using ConsolePort, you want to just use your own action bars, you can totally add these in and move them around yourself. You could put those over here and use the ElvUI action bar. You could add a different action bar add-on and then just turn action bars off entirely. You can do all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's tons of different things that you can do here. And if we go into maps, if you want to turn on and off the mini map, that's here. It's under maps. So just go down the panel. It's pretty obvious where everything is. So just take the time and be patient, and you should be able to figure it out pretty easily if you want to do your own custom stuff. Obviously, you can hit toggle anchors, and this is where you can move the layout around, so you can kind of get an eye for where everything is on the map here. Obviously, there might be some things that you want to move around, and the biggest thing to understand is that if you have a different resolution, if you have different add-ons and you import this in, you might have trouble, or there might be some differences with how yours look and how mine looks, and that's just because of the nature of add-ons and how clunky they can be. So there's not a lot I can do to help. Sometimes I get people asking for help, and it's hard to help because I don't know what add-ons you're using. I don't know enough about the anomalies of add-ons to really help. I just make profiles and share them and maybe either allow people to use them, hopefully they work out, or maybe give people some inspiration. So that's something else as well. The only other things I can think of that I should go over here, so if you have ConsolePort enabled, then it comes with its own XP bar down here. It's really cool. I like it a lot, but it doesn't show the percentage of XP and rested XP. I like to see that percentage. So that's up here right under Location Plus. And the way that I was able to accomplish that is through ElvUI. I went into data bars, and this is where you can have your XP bar, reputation bar, honor, Azurite bar, all that kind of stuff. I have the XP bar enabled, but I have it very tiny, width very tiny, height very, very tiny. And I kind of hit it under the Location Plus bar up here, and then I just kind of moved down the text to show the percentage of XP. That's how I did that. You can totally like just turn that off if you don't like it. It's entirely up to you, but it's just something I did so I can kind of easily see the XP bar. But I also like seeing the actual art of the XP bar. It's kind of satisfying to see that bar fill up, but for quick information, I like to see the percentage. So I'm weird and quirky. I know it's strange, but that's just kind of what I do. So I can't really think of anything else, but we will quickly go over how to import this profile. If you don't really know, you go down to profiles. And again, I wish ConsolePort had this. This is awesome. Most add-ons use it like this. So you'll be using one. It'll be ConsolePort Adventure Mode plus ConsolePort version 2. This is version 2. I'll have links to all my other UI stuff in the description below as well. So what you'll do, well, I will go down here and I will click export. I will have a code that I will also have in the paste bin. You copy that, you go in here, you click import, you paste it in here, and then bam, it puts that in, and you may then have to select it, but like I said, it'll be called ConsolePort Adventure Mode. You might want to adjust some things. Obviously, I have large font because I'm visually impaired. I have some things scaled up. You might not feel like you need it scaled up that much, so keep that in mind as well. The only other thing that I can think of is I do have the player nameplate bar shown, so if I fight something real quick, hopefully I don't kill it too fast. You can see it down here right under my feet. That is a really cool feature that was added, I think, in Legion. But it shows your health right there. It also shows your buffs. They're kind of janky, but that's just kind of the nature of the add-on. This might feel a little bit redundant to you because you've got your health bar with all your buffs right there. I have it because, again, visually impaired. Seeing the quick reference is nice. But if you don't want that enabled, all you have to do is go into nameplates, go over to player, and then just disable it, and you won't have that bar showing up below your feet if you don't like it. So that's entirely up to you. That's an option that you have. But the rest of the nameplates are shown by default, and it's also important to note that for whatever reason, it's just my personal preference, I don't have debuffs showing under the target frame. I have those showing under nameplate frames. It's easier for me to see that, and it doesn't clutter up the target bar and have a bunch of crap on my screen. That's a personal preference. You can go into unit frames and target, and you can go through and kind of mess around and add those in if you want to. There's a lot that you can do if you take the time to do it. So keep that in mind as well. Now that's everything from retail. There's a lot to go over. Let's move over to classic so that I can show you the minor differences. So we are now in Classic, again on a Hunter. He's just an Orc this time instead of a Vulpera, and as you can see, the UI is almost exactly the same, with some minor changes. Now, this is Classic, so even though you're going to be using the same add-ons, you will need to download Classic versions of those add-ons. They are found on the same websites. All of the ElvUI stuff is on ElvUI, just under the Classic section. And then add-ons like ConsolePort, you can get off of CurseForge or the Twitch app, again in the Classic section. So you're going to be using pretty much the same add-ons, but you will have to re-download those for Classic and make sure that you download the Classic versions. So keep that in mind. Again, the UI is pretty much the exact same. There are a couple of minor changes. One of the cool things that I was able to add in Classic is using a bar, I was able to add your air ammo counter. So if you're a warlock, it's soul shards. If you're a warrior, it's your ammo, throwing knives, your bullets, all that stuff is shown here. It'll show you exactly how many you have. Very, very useful if you are a hunter or a class that uses any kind of ammo. So that's up there. It's really cool. Like I said, pretty much everything else is the exact same. You can see down here, if you have a hunter and you have a pet, then you can see the pet happiness right next to your pet bar. Really handy. And then, of course, everything else is the same. You've got your show and hide, your frames, your chat frame, your DPS meter, again, that all works pretty much the same way. And then the only real major differences are just the scaling of everything. It's a little bit weird, but let's go ahead and go into ConsolePort here, and I'll show you what I mean. Again, you're going to have to come over here. You're going to have to import the profiles again, just like you did in the retail version. But if you come over here to Action Bar, you will see that there are some minor changes, though for some reason I had my pet bar disabled, so that was kind of weird. But so we'll enable that. And then if I scroll down here, you can see that the values here are a little bit bit different from what they were in the retail version. So you can pause it, you can add these values in so that you can set up your action bars. Again, you might have to make some minor alterations. I think it has something to do with screen resolution, but that's primarily why I have different profiles. It's also why just certain ElvUI things had to be tweaked a little bit. It's a little weird. I don't know what the deal is, but and also again, you will have to go through your bindings, your mappings, and make sure everything is in order, because I do use some different add-ons in Classic, so I have some different mappings. One of the things, there's an add-on that I had in retail, which is really handy, that I don't really have in Classic. There's a couple of those. So if you look over your nameplate here, you will see a little tiny action bar that uses 4 different buttons. And so it's left trigger plus left bumper, and then right trigger plus right bumper. Those do 2 different things. That's usually where I put my food or bandages or something like that, send pet, just different random things. And then if I hold down left and right bumper, or left and right trigger together, and then hit my home button, then it will use my Hearthstone. So that's another option. And then I also have one for right trigger and start. Now, for whatever reason, I've always assigned this key to my mount. And so in retail, I have an add-on called Livestock, which allows me to mount up, smart mount, so I use a flying mount and in those scenarios, and a ground mount otherwise. That doesn't exist in Classic, so I just have a bar assigned to that same key press, and then I can put in my mount into that slot once I finally get a mount, and then I can mount up very easily. So I've got that hidden. It just uses those kind of key things that you don't really need to see very often. So just know that that is there, and that's where those buttons are mapped to. The only other real big thing that I can think of is where the player nameplate is. So again, I use the player nameplate, but in Classic, you can't anchor the player nameplate to yourself. That feature wasn't available until like Legion. So if let's get that nameplate to show up. So there it is. You can see it. It's kind of up here now. In retail, it's the one that's below your feet. I've kind of got it up off to the side, kind of right above my head. It's not like I haven't really found a great place for it yet. I just kind of put it there because I can't really think of anywhere else to put it. And again, you might feel like this is redundant, so you can kind of go to nameplates, go to player, and then you can disable that if you don't want that bar to be shown. So that's the big thing to remember. Other than that, though, pretty much everything else is the exact same. You can go into ElvUI, you can import the profile. Again, remember to make some changes to the silver dragons or golden dragons. If you do use this add-on to add those in, you'll have to go in and customize all that stuff again. But otherwise, you can find links to all these profiles. There will be profiles for ElvUI and for ConsolePort, for retail and for Classic. So there'll be 4 different ones. I'll also have videos up where I go into more depth about ConsolePort. I'll have a couple videos where I show off old versions of this UI. It's a little bit different. So, it's like, I like to rearrange my furniture every now and then, so sometimes I like to rearrange my UI in WoW. So I hope you like this video. I do really appreciate how much you guys do enjoy my UI videos, and I like making changes to my UI. So please, if you have any suggestions, if you have any suggestions for how I can alter this, or, other add-ons I can try out for either retail or Classic, I would love to hear about that. Otherwise, I wish you guys the best of luck. I hope this works out for you. If the profiles are messed up, they're not working out for you, it could be because of some add-ons. It could be because of some scaling, the way your game is scaled. I don't know. My best advice in those scenarios is, if you're having add-on trouble, contact the mod's author, or you can always go in and try to customize this yourself and make it from the ground up yourself. That's also an option that you can use, and just take inspiration from what I have here. It's a simple UI, nothing major. I like to keep things simple, so best of luck, and I really appreciate you guys giving me all the good feedback. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button, and feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and if you'd like, you can support this channel on Patreon. Links to all of this can be found in the description below. This is TheKephas. Until next time.